From the Middle is a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 190 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America and the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. Basically, our show is Seinfeld set in the Midwest. We're a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview-style podcast where we talk about everything and nothing. And to give you a great example of that, in this episode, we talk about drinks, food, football, shows we're watching, a little bit of stand-up comedy, and a concept Wendy's restaurant. If that doesn't throw you for a loop and tickle your pickle, I don't know what will. Go ahead and hit play and enjoy the episode.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
Before we started recording, we were talking about the fact that back in the One Last Shot food episode, when Kendall realized that Dylan's mouth farting noise was not a tick, he for real thought it was a tick, something that Dylan was unconscious doing.
For years. Like, make the noise, Dylan. That noise right there came from Dylan's mouth, and I don't know how, but it's impressive. But yeah, no joke. All these years, we show up to record and we're chatting, and he does that like a handful of times, and then we start recording and he doesn't do it, and then but sometimes one slips, and then after we're done recording, it happens again. And in my mind, I was thinking I thought it was a tick. I didn't want to ask him about it. I just kind of assumed that it might be. And then so two funny things about that. One is I used to think that he was trying to get his tick out of the way. I don't even know if that's how ticks work. I don't think it is, but he was trying to get it out of the way, and then we'd record, and then there was a moment of relief at the end, and that's what I thought was going on. In the odd times that it did happen during an episode, I felt bad for Dylan, and I would, on the back end, I would edit those out. I would make a little note on my little notepad of the time, and I would edit those out. Just because I thought that I was saving Dylan's face, and
sweet guy.
Turns out you can't save this face, and that's just my revving up the engine noise. It's just a little fun. It actually goes back to something our dad used to do, and that I've done with coworkers in the past to be silly. But nope, totally voluntary. I'm just. Sometimes
they're usually not that pronounced, but yeah.
Sometimes it's got a little Fort Sando crescendo on there. Sometimes it's just a little squeak. It's just for fun, just for anybody who thinks farts are funny.
Okay.
This is the highlight of my week, hanging out with you guys. Welcome back to another episode of From the Middle. And on the note of notes from previous episodes, you may have remembered from last week's episode when I was in London that I was being self-conscious and preemptively apologizing to my hotel neighbors by leaving a note letting them know that I was an American who would be recording a podcast after a reasonable hour. I got a note back. And I know you listeners have been dying to hear. So my last full day in London, I walked back into my hotel room after the end of our workshop, and 527 sent me a note that said, "No problem. And thanks for letting me know. Appreciated." So there you go.
Right.
And speaking of comfortable, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think at any point we questioned if it was ultimately polite. It was just whether it was necessary. So I'm not surprised that somebody thought it was polite. I'm a little surprised they took the time to write back.
Yeah, I think you found a European version of yourself there, Corey.
Yeah, exactly. Turns out it was just another American who liked the note.
And then we talked a lot about how difference the seating arrangement can make on your return travels. Well, I was on an American Airlines flight back from London to Chicago O'Hare, an 8-hour and 20-minute flight, which is a 3x3x3 all the way back in coach. So 3 rows of 3. I found myself on the right aisle of the middle section with a little girl and her mother. Their father was across the aisle, and they made arrangements to all sit with each other in the row in front of me, leaving both seats completely open next to me for 8 hours and 20 minutes. At one point, I laid across all three. At one point, when I wasn't playing Retro Bowl, I laid across all 3 seats. And the flight attendant looked at me like, well, don't you look comfortable? And I was like, I am. I am. So I was out.
So if you do something totally normal, like talk in a hotel room, you feel like you need to write a note, but you'll brazenly lay across 3 seats, probably had your socks off, just snored away in the middle of an airplane, and that doesn't bother you at all. Did you write little stickies, little sticky quips for everyone around you?
Hi guys, I'm American and I have a podcast.
So I'm going to snore across these 3.
Just wanted to let you know those 2 things.
Oh man, that's awesome. All right. Those are my updates from last week's episode. How you guys doing this week? What's up?
Well, speaking of notes, I have a little bit of a lemon lime note flavor. Oh my gosh, we didn't even plan it. If you're not watching on YouTube, which you should be, subscribe to
Uncanny.
Uncanny. I just lifted a can of what is called Starry. I don't want to say formerly known as Sierra Mist because I don't want people to just instantly write it off. It kind of is in the sense that Pepsi made Sierra Mist went away, and now Pepsi has a new lemon lime soda, but it is not Sierra Mist. And I have been trying it, and I had some thoughts. Now I know Kendall probably has some thoughts.
Oh, dude, I did the blind taste test and everything, man.
And you're going to have much more well-developed thoughts than me. So please, what are your thoughts on Starry?
If you're just listening, by the way, you don't understand how uncanny it is, no pun intended, that Dylan A is so excited about pop or soda for the uninitiated, holds up a can of Starry, and not only does Kendall have one with him, he's already done a blind taste. This was not planned. Or scripted anyway. I'm totally out of the loop on this. All I've seen is an advertisement about Starry. I didn't even know what it was. Proceed, gentlemen.
I was actually wondering if I should bring it up. And so I was just kind of like waiting to see like if there was going to be a timing thing. We're going to be talking about food and it was going to be a come or go, whatever kind of thing. But here we are. And I'm ready to talk Starry.
And this isn't planned. This is too boring to be planned. Like we wouldn't go out of our way to talk about clear soda and its flavor profiles, but we're gonna do it. So Kendall, give it to us.
So as Dylan said, Starry has been created by Pepsi to try to go neck and neck with Sprite. Sierra Mist wasn't quite there. You could tell they were doing something a little different. Starry is designed to say, hey, we want to challenge the Sprite world. And so I got what did I have? I had Sprite Zero and Starry Zero. And I tried them both not blind first. And I thought that Sprite tasted a little brighter, but they were otherwise very similar. And then with my kids, I had them administer under my direction a blind taste testing. And out of the blind taste testing, I didn't tell a difference. I thought I did, and I tried to nail it, and I got it wrong. So not blind, I liked Sprite better. Blind, I couldn't tell a difference.
Interesting. I haven't done a blind test. I just wanted to make sure for me that it was really cold, and I felt like because it wouldn't be fair for me to try something for the first time kind of like warm. So I had to make sure it was very cold and ready for me to drink. I've had plenty of Sierra Mist in my lifetime. I used to work at a fast food restaurant that served it. So I felt comfortable enough that I had the kind of profile of Sierra Mist. Interestingly, it like, I think my brain is messing with me. It almost barely starts out as Sierra Mist in my mouth, and then it like flips to Sprite somewhere in the middle, and then I can't tell the difference anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like they took Sierra Mist and said, what makes Sprite Spritey? Let's add some Spritiness to Sierra Mist and like try to wash away the Sierra Mistness with extra Spritiness.
That's probably what they did. Yeah.
Whatever that means in terms of
what if they're just secretly adding Sprite?
What if they were literally just somebody's opening a can of Sprite, pours it into a thing of Starry, has that stamp shut, and puts it in a 12-pack. I don't know that I would know. That's absolutely.
What if they're cooking down a Sprite reduction and just adding a bit to Sierra Mist?
Then they just add LaCroix to the Sprite reduction.
Mm.
I don't know. It's very good. I'll say it's very good. And if you didn't like Sierra Mist, you should still try Starry, because it's
for me
different.
For me, Sprite and Starry, I like Sprite. I very often have either Coke Zero or Pepsi Zero, whichever one's cheaper. I prefer Pepsi Zero. And then usually Sprite Zero is the accompaniment, the non-caffeined version. And now for me, Sprite and Starry are 1 for 1. Whatever's on sale, I'll go for. So that's
exactly what I was going to say. Like, this is just going to turn into whatever's cheaper. I'd probably just as likely to buy that now.
Especially in these times.
It sounds weird to have a new name in the top 10. And I just pulled up a chart of the US market share. I didn't realize Coke was just over actually double the Pepsi market share per dollar. Yeah, to have a new name, Starry, it just sounds weird to be saying Starry in the mix. Excited to try it. Big news in the pop world. There are articles written about this, folks.
And then somewhere sitting in a kiddie pool in their front yard is somebody with a big Faygo logo on their shirt, and they're like, fingers up, don't care.
Hey,
I'm just Faygo.
Man, rock and rye all day. Rock and rye and red pop from Faygo. Those are my jam.
I like the Starry logo. That's big news. What else, guys?
Well, if we're going to talk a little bit about food, apparently this is something that a lot of people that had heard of that I hadn't, and I had sort of missed it. I've never really been the Shark Tank person, but I guess at one point, Cousin's Maine Lobster had been on Shark Tank. And I don't know how long this has been a thing. My wife has followed them on social media, knowing that I like seafood, and would always say, hey, this seafood lobster roll truck is going to be around or in town or whatever. And we'd missed them. And so finally, a couple weeks ago, they were going to be in town. It was snowing. They canceled. And then this past Sunday, they were back in town, literally at our mall that's like less than 5 minutes away. So it's like, it's time. So we get there, huge line. Now I'm seeing on the lobster truck, it's like Shark Tank, Men's Magazine, MSNBC, Fox News, like all these outlets that have talked about him. It's got like all their logos on it. So I'm like, oh, this is huge. This isn't, it's huge for a food truck. Then I also learned that they've opened, Columbus has this sort of test kitchen, not for like fast food, but for like nicer food called Bud Food Dairy Hall. Is that right?
I don't know. I've not heard of this.
Yeah. So it's a thing. It's one of the restaurateurs in Columbus made it. So it's meant to be for like nicer places that want a presence. There's a bunch of these restaurants in Bud Dairy Hall. So anyways, turns out they have a location down there. And I'm like, well, that would have been in hindsight a lot faster than waiting for the food truck. But get there, long line, also long line for the mobile app people. I'm like, maybe I should just like try to order online now. They've shut down the mobile app. And much like my 45-minute wait at Taco Bell, after I'm there for a few minutes, I'm like, well, how much longer can it be? So Bree and Finley are cold. They're like, we're going to leave and go find other food. Text us once you've ordered. Probably about an hour and 15 minutes later, I've texted them. I finally ordered. It took a long time. And
Yeah.
the list in my head of what I was ordering keeps getting longer the longer I stand in line. Because now I'm like, well, I'm here.
I'm
And
going to earn it. I've earned this.
I've earned this. I'm here. It's kind of cold and very lightly raining, but
Standing
lightly,
is exercise.
it is. So I hear
Gotta
these
work
guys
this off.
behind me talking the whole time. And there's sort of this like, whatever's popular, they're going to poo poo it. Like, I don't even know why I'm here in line anymore. I'm just doing it because I've waited this long. And being kind of obnoxious in line, but not that bad. So I finally order. One of the obnoxious guys steps up, and he has had queued up on his phone the Price is Right music. Dun, 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 like he's finally been called forward to order his food.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The other guy who's been mouthing off the most, you see him look over at one of the cars and go, Mom, look at how you parked. Because he's ridden there with his mother, who's been waiting in the car the whole time, like Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers or something, mouthing off in line. Anyways, by the time that I place the order, I'm like, I've talked myself into double meat on the rolls because it's only $6 more. And we're taking some back to in-laws. So I've got multiple rolls and I've got tater tots and they have whoopie pies. And how many flavors do you have? I might as well get one of each. And just loading up, super long wait, but I will say it was delicious. We tried lobster bisque. There was lobster bisque and like chowder on the menu. I tried as much as I could. It was all very, very good. If they're around, I don't know that I would wait over an hour frequently, maybe every now and then. Or I would go to the Bud Food Dairy Hall thing. If you're kind of in Greater Columbus, you're passing through Columbus, but it was very, very good. All the food was delicious. Turns out, I forget which roll was which. One was Maine, one was Connecticut. I'm not a cold lobster with mayonnaise guy. I'm a warm lobster with butter guy. And I don't know which is which, but I'm that one if I'm in New England.
Warm and butter.
Warm lobster and butter. And it was very, very good. So shout out to Cousins Maine Lobster. Kendall, I think you tried it. Is that right?
Yeah, I had it. I don't know, was it last summer or the summer before, maybe? When they were set up at my wife's work one time during the lunch hours, and so they were, and I didn't even know that it was going to be them. It was just like there's like a day of the week there where they would have food trucks in the parking lot, and so we decided one of those weeks that I was going to take the kids and we were going to have lunch with Mama there, and they were one of the options, and that is where I beelined as soon as I saw it. I had never heard of them before either until that day. But I don't remember which roll I got between the two. I do remember getting the bisque. So yeah. I got one of the rolls and I got a bisque is what I had. And I do remember loving it. I also remember it being very expensive.
Yeah.
We're talking like what, $30 for a roll or something like that. It was.
Yeah. I think
it was up there, man.
20, and I got double meat on mine. So it was 26.
26
and then
for yours?
The deal was to sucker you into more. If you got a roll or an entree, and they have like quesadillas and tacos and all that's with lobster meat. But if you got an entree, you got like a cup of soup for $5 instead of like $7 or $8. Okay. So of course I get 3 rolls, 3 cups of soup, like tots. You can get loaded tots. So here's, if you're on YouTube, I'm showing off the Bud Dairy Company food hall, and you can see some of the restaurants and chefs featured on here.
They're really playing up the as seen on Shark Tank thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal for them. Yeah.
Cool. Lobster's good.
It is good. So check them out. Check out Bud Dairy Company Food Hall if you're in Columbus. 10 kitchens, 3 bars, 1 rooftop. It's not a food court. You're not going there for Sbarro and some cheap chicken that's going to give you food poisoning. You're going there for some interesting food. And it was a cool experience. I know you guys appreciate food stuff. Maybe I appreciate it more. I don't know, but I enjoyed it. It was worth the wait, even in the cold, just to get to try something fun and new.
Now I'm feeling kind of guilty that they were right across the intersection at the Ace Hardware a while back, and I didn't even make an effort to stop. I know
You
it's
have
good
to-
though.
You have to really you have to really, really want seafood. And obviously getting fresh of that around here is tough. So if there's a place there's a place that claims they have it and it's not just fresh fish and you want like lobster or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. You wait an hour.
Nice.
What else is going on?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Gory. So my wife, I'm not big into social media, but my wife sent me or showed me rather a post that you had posted on the Facebook concerning the Bengals football match
Oh
this
yeah.
past
Yeah.
week. You want to talk about that?
No, I mean, yeah, obviously the Bengals had a chance to go to the Super Bowl again this year by playing the AFC rival Chiefs and
Yeah.
lost. There were many, many questionable calls during that game. What was more comical was the week prior when they were playing the Bills in the divisional game. And I was in my hotel room in London. So I'm trying to watch the game, and we have all the things. We have ESPN Plus, we have Paramount Plus, we have all the streamers, all the things. But because I'm in London, all of those apps say, tell us your cable provider to log in. Well, I'm using Spectrum, formerly Time Warner, as my cable provider login.
Yeah.
And it goes, we don't recognize that here, and your location, your IP location is London. So if you don't have like a Sky Sports cable login, then you can't watch the game. So I was blocked from watching the game. And I really wanted to see them play the Bills because that's where the injury happened a couple weeks back that we talked about on the podcast. And so make a game of all that and blah, blah, blah. So Sherry's texting me, all you got to do is this, but I'm trying to explain to her, babe, I know we have Paramount Plus. That doesn't matter because I'm in London. Never occurs to me, by the way, to use the VPN that we have for work.
I was just going to ask you about that.
To log in through a Columbus server or any server in the US. But anyway, so here's what we we use the app Marco Polo when I'm on work trips. I highly recommend this app, by the way, if you're ever away from the rest of your immediate family. It's a great way to communicate back and forth by sending little videos on an app that keeps a log of all of them. You can make them as long or as short as you want. They're just stored on their server. And it's just a great way where I can record messages, especially where time zones are involved. I can record messages while I'm getting ready at what would be 2 a.m. Ohio time. And whenever Sherry wakes up, she's just able to watch the video of me catching up on my day, or here's what I'm excited about, whatever. And same way, it works the other way too. And the benefit for the listener is there's a 2 times playback speed. So you can get caught up on each other's days really quickly. So Marco Polo's great. If you happen to be watching them live, you can do live reactions. Point of the whole story is I get so frustrated. I just want to see this game. I've already missed the first half. So I just tell Sherry, just put Marco Polo, turn your phone around and just record our TV. So Sherry puts up her phone landscape orientation on 2 bar stools stacked on top of each other, filming our TV on Marco Polo.
Nice.
And in a weird way, from London, it felt like a great way for me to be, quote unquote, watching the game with my family. So the kids thought it was funny. Daddy's in London watching the Bengals, so they run in front of the camera and wave. But then they're being silly and jumping around, so it slowly knocks down the angle of the phone. So now I'm looking at the ceiling. Anyway, it was comical. I'll post a picture on our social media of Sherry, the way she rigged up the phone. But yeah, it's a shame. It would have been cool to see the Bengals play the 49ers in another Super Bowl. They had 2 tries in the 80s that didn't work out well. And then they obviously went last year and lost. But yeah, I'm not diehard. I've been a I don't know, moderately serious Bengals fan since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Because my dad and his dad were Bengals fans. I had a big Bengals tin trash can. Remember those play sets you'd get when you were kids? It was the like shut uh, uniform kit where you got the helmet, the jersey, the pants in one box, and you could dress up as your favorite sports team. Had that, a big pillow.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was an interesting game.
It's an exciting time for Bengals fans right now.
Yeah.
Like I've been a Bengals fan for the past 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't, for me, it doesn't feel the same as it does for my wife and her family who are from Cincinnati.
Right.
Um, so but it's still like the outlook. You have the quarterback, and you don't know yet, but it looks like it could be him and Mahomes running the league for the next generation.
Yeah.
And to think that the Bengals might be like the new, I wouldn't say Patriots because I don't think either team is going to go quite that far with it, but like the Peyton Manning Colts maybe, or the Eli Manning Giants, like they might just go head to head at every AFC championship until they both retire.
Yeah.
I would like to see that happen.
Burrow's fun to watch. And even Tony Romo, who was one of the announcers during the game, he was saying, it's only Burrow's third season in the league. And again, college football is our thing here in this house. We don't follow the NFL closely. But enough to know this kid's good. And Tony Romo was saying, he plays like a quarterback. It's like he's learned things that most quarterbacks don't learn until their 10th year in. He just plays with an instinct that's on a different level. He's really fun to watch. He's calm and cool and collected in the pocket. And he's just, it was just cool to hear. And Tony Romo wasn't amazing, right? But to hear him say that he plays with that level of quarterback wisdom and IQ, spoke volumes to me. So yeah, I think it's cool. It's a good time to watch. And yeah, I don't try to be as diehard as those that grew up in Cincinnati, but have always loved watching them. I loved watching them in the Boomer Esiason days. Boomer was our guy, man. But yeah, so that was kind of disappointing, but more comical to watch us watch the divisional game with a phone filming a streaming TV all across the country. What are you guys watching? Speaking of watching things,
Yellowstone.
I've been wanting to get into that. How is it? Do you like it?
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I've watched. If there's a popular Western series, I'm eventually going to get to it. I love Western style series like Longmire. Love Longmire. One of my favorites. I feel like Longmire ended way too soon.
Yeah.
And Yellowstone is also hitting that for me. And what's interesting now, this could be, I've always sort of my whole life been sort of bent toward that style of living. There was a time in my life where I walked outside with a cowboy hat every day and wore boots, and then I got married, and then I don't anymore. But did I cut out?
No, we didn't lose audio, just video for a sec.
Right on. But so I don't know, but when I watch something like Longmire or Yellowstone, the yearning to wear the cowboy hat comes back. And I walk around my house a little different. I don't know what it is. I picture I'll just be sitting on the couch and I'll just walk over to the kitchen feeling like Kevin Costner. I don't know what it is. If I'm holding my jaw different, or if I'm just like, if it just like, I feel like my mind is still in the scene or something.
It's like
I
how
don't know.
Corey treats 3 open seats on an airplane.
Yeah.
This land is my land, you know.
Does anybody do that? Like, you feel like in very subtle ways your life is affected by a particular type of media that you're super into, or is it because I'm like already predisposed to like loving that culture, or is it just me altogether? Am I crazy?
Does anybody do that? I have a motorcycle because of Sons of Anarchy.
Well, okay, there you go.
I do it all the time with too many things. That's my problem. I'm highly influenced by shows that I like or characters that I like in a show. For a while, I was convinced I wanted to be walking around like Johnny Depp's character from Pirates of the Caribbean, just doing this all the time because I was like, isn't that cool and funky? I want to be like, you know. I started saying savvy because of that.
Well, there you have it.
Dylan, are you impacted by the shows that you watch or the games that you play or the
iRobot, maybe?
iRobot.
There's always a little bit like watch a really good, you know, you watch something like The Greatest Showman and you find yourself listening to show tunes for a week after, right? Like you watch a cool, you know, we all do it. Like you get on YouTube and you start searching the thing that you've been watching, you know, about and you're learning more about it then and you're getting into the thing. But I don't know that it ever actually influences my purchasing more than just my browser history. Like I don't own a motorcycle because I watched, you know, Ghost Rider. And I'm not, you know, writing letters to NASA because of Star Wars. So I don't know. I mean, to a degree, certainly, but yeah,
Interesting.
I'm sure there's examples. I just don't have any good ones off the top.
We need to post that question on our Facebook group. And if you're not following or a part of it, by the way, now's a great time to hop onto Facebook and join From the Middle for the Middlers Facebook group, a page designed for you so that you can interact with us. That'd be a great question to ask there and see if we can solicit some stories.
Yeah. No illegal stories. That'd be bad.
Yeah.
If you watch The Godfather and that made you like.
Yeah, I was going to say like mafia movies. I bet people are watching Peaky Blinders and like, I know at least 2 people who are in the meth game because of Breaking Bad. Like that was a joke, folks. So yeah, man, I do it all the time. No, I seriously watched Sons of Anarchy and was, I mean, I think they said that the Navy saw massive upticks in people entering flight training school after the original Top Gun came out, right? Like,
sure. Yeah, okay.
Like, so things like that definitely happen.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of orcs that joined dark armies after Lord of the Rings just skyrocketed. They were coming out of nooks and crannies to follow whatever Dark Lord was nearby. You know what I mean?
Making fun of me?
On Yellowstone, I literally just read the premise. I thought it was an old Western, and it looks like it's kind of a modern.
Yeah, it's modern day.
I had no idea. And doesn't have its own spinoff now with Harrison Ford. Did it get a spinoff or something?
No.
It's got 2 spinoffs, and one's a prequel. Oh.
I think it's the prequel, maybe, that gets Harrison Ford. I knew nothing about it. So many people have mentioned it, and I don't know why in my head it was like one of the kind of, there are shows that are just romantic dramas masquerading as dramas and adventure dramas on streaming platforms because they're cheap to make, right? Yeah. All you need is a small town in the middle of nowhere where everyone wears the same clothes they would have normally worn, and then you bring in like 12 attractive people to run the show. And it's just a romantic series that whatever. Every now and then somebody rolls into town and has a gun and there's extra drama for the day and then whatever. So I just kind of felt in my head, I don't know why, I felt like this is just like a romantic show that happens to be set. And I just wasn't interested. I didn't know the premise. that maybe the wrong group of people were telling me that it was good, and I was just writing it off. So your opinion does go a lot further. So now I feel like I kind of need to check out Yellowstone.
Yeah.
There are people vacationing there, people who are like driving through that part of the West and like making stops to see where certain parts of the show are filmed. When College Game Day was in Bozeman in the middle of November, they had a great intro to Game Day with these beautiful scenic shots of the area. And we're like, nothing to see here. It's just a small town. No big skies or beautiful mountains or clear running rivers or anything. Go elsewhere. They're getting a bunch of people moving there now.
Yeah.
Because of, and I don't know if it takes place in Bozeman, but that area. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Outside of Billings, Montana is where Yellowstone Dutton Ranch is.
Yeah.
Stuff we're watching. Speaking of ranches, Shotgun Wedding on Amazon Prime. That's Jennifer Lopez, and I knew I was going to blank on the guy's name as soon as I started thinking about it.
I got you, dog.
That wasn't bad. It was one of those. The one thing that made it better, and I know he was on The Office. Josh Duhamel.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah. So
wow, you look like the 4th of July. That makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Exactly. So J-Lo, Josh Duhamel, Lenny Kravitz, Jennifer Coolidge, Cheech Martin. That's the main cast. I would normally have just blown it off as a bad like rom-com kind of movie, but it's just it takes itself. It doesn't take itself so seriously that it ups a little bit of the ridiculous humor in it. And it's not just like, I don't know how to describe it other than if your significant other wants to watch it, it's not the worst rom-com you're going to watch. It's actually kind of funny. Jennifer Coolidge and Cheech are in it. So you can kind of, even though Cheech isn't being Cheech is still Cheech. And Jennifer Coolidge is very much Jennifer Coolidge. And so it's just absurd enough that it weighs out some of what would have normally have been kind of a boring rom-com. And so that one's kind of funny to watch. And then we're also watching The Parenting Test on ABC, which is really interesting. If you don't know The Parenting Test at all, basically it's a parent expert with a host, and they're putting parents' kids in a bunch of different situations to see how the kids handle it based on a bunch of different parenting styles.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
So there might be really strict households, really traditional, really like new wave. There might be whatever free range. And so these parents are kind of loosely committed to these rough outlines of different types of parenting methods. And then they're kind of voting, giving each other feedback and voting each other off to get to whatever the quote best parenting style is. I will say though, it's interesting in that the parents are often far more supportive and far less critical of each other than you'd expect. And so it actually makes it more interesting than just, they're just bashing each other's parenting style because it's not their own. There certainly is some of that, but like you'll even have like a new age, like a kid will be hyper responsive or do really well in one of their little tests in like a new age family, and the traditional parents will chime in and be like, I'm really impressed with how they handled that. Like, that's not how we would have taught them to do X, Y, and Z, but clearly you got the desired result. And so it's just really interesting if you don't have anything else to watch or you have enough time to watch something else. It's worth checking out. It's an intriguing show.
I saw the ad and I love the premise. I think it's something I'm going to watch at least a whole season of. And I'm encouraged to hear that the parents are encouraging to one another on the show. You know where they're probably not? Online when people are talking about the episodes. I can just imagine how volatile and toxic those because people ascribing their own personal parenting style to one of the styles depicted in the show. And if that family does or doesn't do well in the challenge, I just imagine
Yeah. And look, there's still certainly criticism. And some of the tests are kind of like, it's a little bizarre how some of the kids react. Sometimes you go, yeah, that totally makes sense based off the parenting style that a kid would react that way. Some of them are easier, like take a young kid to the high dive and see if you've built enough trust that they'll take their first plunge. Sometimes it's the parents have left the house and they're intentionally trying to see if the kids will open the door to a stranger and let them in. And so sometimes they're really uncomfortable to watch because you're thinking about your own kid and like how the parents feeling watching their kid like react to somebody being at the door and they're gone. And so some of the challenges are a little sillier and some of them are definitely more serious. I'm sure some parents were uncomfortable watching some of them, but yeah, so there's certainly a mixture of like criticism, but you can tell the spirit of it is like, we're trying to be supportive of one another and see what works and what doesn't from different parenting styles. Not let's take a crap on every other parenting style that's not our own.
They're not trying to make villains out of the
No.
parents on the show.
And I was kind of expecting more of a reality, like drama-esque take on, oh, I can't believe you would, everything's a negative. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It reminds me of something I just heard about today. There's a long-running Japanese reality show on Netflix called Old Enough, where these little Japanese kids go on errands by themselves for the very first time, and camera crews just follow them to see how well they do. And they're like 3, 4, 5 years old in Japan, just going off, and they're given a simple task like go get some whatever from the market. And you see how well or not well this kid does. And the point of the show is like, our children are more capable than we give them credit for. But we, especially in America, are oftentimes very helicoptery and fretting over every possible thing that could go wrong. And like, they're pretty smart and capable. And anyway, I'm excited to try this Old Enough show too. Just a couple episodes anyway.
I feel like there's got to be, if it's been on that long, like a YouTube highlight reel of the best of Old Enough. Yeah, that's a good place to start instead of 47 years of Japanese television.
It's been on since 1991.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty long.
Ages 2 to 5, running errands by themselves, completely by themselves.
Wow. Well, we will have some more Japanese news for you right after these messages from our friends at Odd Pods Media.
This is Beer in Front. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, part of the Odd Pods Media Network.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know why everyone was friends with the mushroom?
No.
He was a fun guy.
That was a cough, not a laugh.
Oh.
That was a
You
good
can
one.
milk, you can milk mushrooms in Minecraft.
Oh, that's disturbing.
So for
That's disturbing.
I think I mentioned on the podcast that for her birthday, my 16-year-old daughter asked that I give Minecraft the old college try.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Minecraft and Japan, there was a Japanese YouTuber who his pet goldfish spent his money in the Nintendo Switch eShop and managed to out his credit card information to streamers online.
Tell me more.
Tell you more. So this is an article.
I said a fish.
Yeah. Did you not understand me? I'm just giving you the news, man.
Oh, I heard. I have follow-on questions.
This is an article from UPI.com. A Japanese YouTuber created a custom setup to allow his pet fish to play Pokemon on his Nintendo Switch. But a malfunction led to the fish spending money at the eShop and revealing its owner's credit card information on a live stream. So the YouTuber created this system. Oh, it's not a goldfish. It's a beta fish. Fact check that.
That makes sense.
Created a situation where his Switch could see the tank, and the fish would swim to one part of the tank, and it would basically be interpreted as pushing a button by the Switch. And so he had this all set up, and so he would just like get like Pokemon started on Nintendo Switch and then just leave it alone. And then the fish would swim around its tank, and then the game would play however it was that happened. The fish, without the dude noticing, went to the home screen, went into the eShop, bought a bunch of stuff, changed like his username, and then like went into his account information and showed all of his credit card information. And then before he even realized this all had happened, turned the Switch off. And so it wasn't until like all of this had happened and his credit card like started getting hit by random people that he then realized what had happened, or was told what had happened, or went back and watched the live stream. I don't know how it got outed, but he didn't catch it right away. Didn't know what happened. And yeah, he was able to call Nintendo and get refunds on things and stuff. But yeah, it was a beta fish.
Dang it, man. I was waiting for some long Kendall build up to a joke. that you're going to have some like, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That really
I'm
happened.
wondering.
That really happened.
I missed so many details waiting for a punchline that wasn't coming.
No, I've got the article pulled up, and I'm wondering if this happened because the owner was trying to keep his beta fish entertained while he was gone, or he wanted to train the beta fish as his fish slave to get him further along in Pokemon while he was away.
In my mind, this was a YouTube shtick that he would live stream, and people knew that they were watching his fish do things, because kids these days are watching all sorts of weird stuff. And I could see kids these days being all about watching a beta fish play Pokemon.
Yeah.
So
That's funny. But yes, I am hooked on Minecraft. I can't stop playing.
Well,
Guys, this whole time,
that's unfortunate.
I've not known what all the fuss was about. I absolutely now understand what all the fuss was about. Harrison, I think, from our friends over at the gaming podcast, Grief Burrito out of the UK, told me, he's like, dude, you'd love it. It's like Lego, but with unlimited bricks. And I was like, yeah, but I don't understand. You're either, just mining or building. Turns out I really like both of those things. It's very calming to do something very mindless. It's winter here in Ohio.
yeah, whatever floats your
flow.
whatever floats your boat, man.
There are boats. You can build boats.
Out of block.
It's fun. I've built a lot of castles, Dylan. You'd really enjoy it with your love of medieval history.
Sure, I'm sure I would. I think it's probably healthy that I don't start playing. I think it's just best. What else? So, man, Tom Papa and Ricky Gervais have some new specials on Netflix, by the way. I don't know if you guys have watched.
What's the Ricky Gervais one? I watched the Tom Papa one, which is called What a Day.
You know how in The Office, Michael's like, I want to live in a world where I can make a hilarious AIDS joke. And there's certain things you can't joke about. Yeah, Ricky Gervais makes all those jokes.
Oh, Supernature.
Yeah, Supernature. And then
Yeah.
Tom Papa is What a Day.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, I saw both. Wow, that Ricky Gervais one is woo.
yeah. I mean, he's funny. And to be fair, he pretty much makes fun of everything. Like there's nothing that he doesn't make fun of. I mean, because sometimes, especially if you have like any sort of religious affiliation, you're like, he's an atheist, so he's just going to make fun of religious people all day. And then you might not. No, he makes fun of everything, and that's special. There is nothing off limits. And,
if you're easily offended, best that you don't.
Stay far away. But he's a different level. He's not like Anthony Jeselnik. I don't know. It's his delivery, or it's something about how the cadence and the flow of his jokes. It doesn't feel shock and awe. It just feels such like a natural progression from one joke to another.
He feels like a smart comic making dirty jokes.
Yeah, versus just a guy who's like, what's the most outrageous thing I can say?
Because Jeselnik, when he delivers a punchline at someone's expense, his facial expression is very serious, and he's doing it with like a jerk-like cadence and posture. Ricky's giggling the whole time. It's very smart, but he's being silly and he's giggling. So you've like, isn't this absurd that you guys believe this? And you're like, yeah, I do believe that still.
Yeah. It's wild. Either way, I thought they were both funny, but the Ricky Gervais one was off the charts. Very, very funny.
I'll say about Tom Papa again, and I know we said this about his last one. I think you forget sometimes that a comic has that whole hour memorized. And with some of them, when you watch them based on how they deliver their special, it still feels conversational in nature. They include ums and they're making it like they're telling a story to a group of people surrounding them at a barbecue or a whatever. Tom Papa's is like a perfectly delivered monologue that is like a scripted one-man show more than like a conversational, relaxed Bert Kreischer telling a story about when he was in Russia. Tom Papa's is like, it just doesn't stop. Rapid fire, hilarious, thoughtful. Man, like it makes me realize that he's got to memorize that whole thing, and others I can forget that they're memorizing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so polished though, and still legitimately funny. I'm not sure. And maybe he's a bigger star than I realize. I feel like he should be more of a household name. And I don't know why he isn't.
Like, I think he kind of is with a certain age range though.
You think so? Like Sebastian Maniscalco in the last 5 years has gone from guy on Comedy Central Presents to like the highest paid comedian in the world right now.
Yep.
I feel like Tom Papa has just been very consistent and has kept doing his thing really well.
Yep.
But nobody talks about him for it. And I don't know if it's because so much of his thing is the same. He, like you said, it's every show is like a perfectly scripted monologue, and then it ends and it's funny. And I don't know what it is. I feel like he should be bigger, but maybe he is, and I just don't realize it.
Interesting. Yeah, it was good. Worth an hour of your time, each of them. Again, only if you're not easily offended on the Ricky Gervais one.
100%.
And that's about a year old, that one, I think.
Even if you're not easily offended, but like you do get offended sometimes, you probably shouldn't watch it. You need to be someone who almost isn't offended by anything.
Ricky Gervais has a way to find it.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild.
I'm out, guys. I got nothing else. I was excited to catch up with you guys and hear what was going on in your lives.
Well, I got one more thing that I did recently. I should have brought it in with food, but we've talked about this a little bit. Kendall, bro, that's worth cutting out right there. Not the yes. Kendall, haven't you talked about before, like testing out food for Wendy's?
It was Donato's.
Oh, Donato's. Okay.
Yeah.
So Wendy's is headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, for anyone who doesn't know. And I know Wendy's does a lot of food sampling in the area. Well, I feel like I never really see anything unique come out of Wendy's. It's like the all new Wendy's chicken and bacon sandwich. And you're like, oh, cool. Okay.
We put one extra strip of bacon. It's called the Baconator
Yeah.
Cluck Cluck.
Our all new chicken sandwich with some kind of fire sauce. And you're like, oh, spicy chicken. Got it. Okay. So
Look,
anyway,
we put an egg on a Baconator, and now you can have it for breakfast.
yeah.
I have a little follow-up question there because I need you to know, Corey, because you've described it as it is a Baconator with an egg. You realize there's no beef on that breakfast sandwich, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right.
That's been eating away at me. Does Corey think they're serving him a Baconator with an egg on it? Because that's what he said. It's sausage on that sandwich.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure is.
Still
Right
sounds
on.
good. So
That was me
in
being
that-
neurotic.
in that, Wendy's also
get it.
tests different things about their restaurants, physical things about their restaurants, not just the food.
Oh,
So I walked into a Wendy's in Greater Columbus recently, and the first thing I noticed was they had one of those basketball hoops with the net down the side, which I haven't seen any sort of interactive game at a restaurant in a very long time, especially a standard fast food place. I thought that's kind of interesting that that's here. And then I was kind of scanning it, and I realized in playing, people have already knocked some of Wendy's art off the wall in a picture frame that was right behind the net. And I go, oh, also interesting that it's still here, because you'd think that they would value, they don't want basketballs bouncing around in this small Wendy's from people who would inevitably be drunk or whatever, just chucking the basketballs. Anyways, thought it was kind of weird. Everything else felt pretty normal. Went to go to the bathroom, 2 bathroom doors, both say family restroom. Okay, that feels more inclusive, I guess. I'm not offended by it. I can pick either one. And so I'm like, I'm going to go to the further one. And then I notice outside of that restroom, which is at the end of a hallway, outside of the family restroom is a sink and a mirror and soap and towels open to the hallway, and an air dryer on the wall and a trash can below, like a long metal trough sink in the hallway facing out towards the restaurant. And now I'm wondering what I do with this thing. Because I haven't walked in yet, so I'm thinking, do I go in and do I use the bathroom and then come back and wash my hands? Is that weird? Like, then people walking back down the hallway are like, he's got poop or pee hands and he's washing them out here in the hallway, because like stuff is going to fly around. And then they say that those blowy air hand machines push as much like dirty air like through in the bathroom than just using a paper towel. I'm like,
do you have to shake crumbs off before you wash your hands in the bathroom?
well, and then I thought
stuff flying through the air before you.
Then I thought maybe this has got to just be for people who don't have to use the restrooms, but they've eaten and they just want to go wash their hands. That's got to be, that's like, that makes the most sense. But I walk in the bathroom. The bathroom is still set up normal. It's a family bathroom, but it's not really any different. It still has its own sink. So now I just assume the trough is some kind of test that they're doing out in the hallway that you can go wash your hands in. I will say they did have that little feet hook thing that you could put your shoe on and open the door to not have to touch the door. But I'm like, do you really need that if there's a sink out there? Because I could just wash my hands. I could touch the door handle. Then I thought maybe that's why they do it, for people who want to walk, don't want to touch the handle. Now they can just go to the bathroom, walk out in the hallway and wash their hands. But that still doesn't seem to solve problems. So my question is, what problems does that solve for anybody who might be in the know?
Well, okay. So it is, I have it figured out.
Okay.
You wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, and then you go back to the door, and then you don't see the feet hook thing. You go to open the door. You're like, oh man, I touched a doorknob, and like only half of us are washing our hands after going to the bathroom. So then you go outside into the hallway. You're like, oh, conveniently, there's another sink, so I don't have to touch the door again. Then you wash your hands twice after going to the bathroom.
Yeah. Maybe. The best thing I could come up with is people who don't need the restroom, who want to wash their hands, aren't using up a restroom, but now are awkwardly washing their hands. So to bring it full circle with the test food thing, we're going back out. We just stopped to use the restroom. God forbid. We've stopped to use the restroom, get a Frosty, and go home. We're ordering inside. I look up at the menu, and they have 2 sandwiches that I can only guess are from their test menu, a burger and a chicken sandwich, both with a giant flat piece of mozzarella cheese stick on it and a bun. And it was sort of
advertising that thing, man.
like, what kind of test restaurant is this for Wendy's? And I also wanted to try it at the same time. So I was very confused by the whole experience. There's basketball hoops and art frames on the floor, and there's random sinks, and they're testing weird food with cheese sticks on it. And I want to try it, and I feel fat if I try it at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with that.
I feel like I'm jumping all over the food stuff today, man. Because that like mozzarella chicken sandwich and burger thing, like that's been out for a little while.
Okay.
Not just at a test Wendy's. Like I've seen commercials for it.
So I guess what I'm telling Wendy's is don't change too much at one time. Just maybe just test. Some of us are great with change, but even the best of us, maybe only one change at a time per store. That's gotta skew their experiment results. It's like you can't tell if it was the sink in the hallway, the basketball hoop, or the new sandwiches, but people aren't coming back. Yeah. And then you order a Frosty to go, and they put a flat lid on it that has all the ice cream stuck to it. And they don't have a dome lid, or they don't just ask me if I want no lid. It's like, if I take that lid off in the car, what am I going to do with that? It's going to be sticky all over everything.
That's a great point, Dylan.
Too many tests in one location is all I have to say.
The sink in the hallway gets me. That would be weird to see for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the bottom of that one on Google, and all I'm coming up with is the result from 2 years ago on TikTok, where a guy took a bubble bath in the kitchen sink in a Wendy's in Michigan. So I don't think that's it.
We'll leave that one to the audience to fill us in on. I don't know. I don't understand.
That's crazy. Or maybe the big sink in the hallway really is, since they only have the family restrooms now, and men want to be men. Maybe it's a urinal trough / sink trough combination.
Maybe. And you can just pee right there in the hallway.
You just walk up to the thing at the hallway. And as long as you're facing a wall, who cares?
This is America. This is America. I want to come to my Wendy's, shoot some hoops, get my mozzarella cheese stick sandwich, and pee in a trough like a real man.
Essentially, yeah. That's what Wendy's is. The picture Wendy's was painting for me that night.
Please go back and take pictures at this Wendy's.
No, I don't ever want to go back, and I don't want sticky lids all over my car either. And that doesn't feel like a big ask.
I think that is a wonderful thought. The lid thing on the Frosties. We have all been there. We have all had that very problem. Going through the drive-thru, you get a Frosty, and you're like, now what am I supposed to do with this lid? Why? None of us have ever had the thought of just don't put a lid on it, or you guys need to do a different lid.
Why does Wendy's even offer me a straw for a Frosty? I don't have enough mouth muscle for that. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. There's no. It's a spoon or death. There is no other option.
Yeah. Listen, you could be patient and let it melt, but if you had the wherewithal, that kind of willpower when it comes to food, you wouldn't be getting a Frosty from Wendy's in the first place.
I wouldn't have been at Wendy's anyways.
Yeah.
I would have stopped, used their pee trough, and left, and I wouldn't even have gotten a Frosty.
Did you guys ever try that hot honey sandwich that came out?
Oh, no. After you talked about it. Yeah, I did try it after you talked about it.
Yeah, the one with the pickle chips on it.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Sticky.
Yeah, sticky. This article says not even pickle chips can save this Wendy's sandwich, but they do sure try a lot of things, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember thinking it was okay, but I don't enjoy honey on a sandwich, generally speaking, because I don't want sticky fingers. And there's no way to eat a sandwich with honey on it and not get sticky.
Yeah. Next thing they're going to do is give you a sandwich with a lid on it. And then what are you going to do?
No kidding.
No kidding.
Well, Dylan
All right.
doesn't have the mouth muscles to suck his way through a Frosty, but he does have the mouth muscles to make a hilarious episode of From the Middle. It's been great joining you guys. We hope you enjoyed, and we would love to hear from you. Do weigh in on our social media channels at the bottom of every episode or post. In the description, you can find details on how to reach us through our link tree, where you can call, leave a voicemail, send us a text if you'd like, send us an email, or just comment. Thanks to Artiest Man for their sponsorship. If you want some amazing grooming products for your facial hair, go to artiestman.com. That's ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code The Middle. That's The Middle, all one word, at checkout for 25% off of your order. And you can look forward to our smiling faces and sultry voices in next week's episode of From the Middle. Episodes drop every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to hanging out with you then. Auf Wiedersehen.